The first story that I developed was Little Red Riding Hood. And I started telling women that we've been taught to be Little Red Riding Hood. And I call this the Little Red Riding Hood effect. We're taught to be kind and nice, look after others and stick to the path. So she goes off into the woods, all innocent. And what I understand is that innocence turns into naivety because she thinks when she goes out into the world, that's all she needs. And she's not taught that there's wolves out there and that the wolves don't follow the rules she's taught. And so when she meets a wolf, she just brings out niceness, kindness, understanding. And I can remember when I was living with the wolf, I thought if I'm compassionate and understanding, if I'm assertive, if I do all the right things, he'll do the right thing. But I was never taught that there's some people out there that don't do the right thing. Little Red Riding Hood is given this job to do with go to her grandmother's house. That's a massive job for a little girl, to go from her village through the woods to the next village. And for me, that also represents that as girls, we're often given emotional responsibility that's not ours to bear. We grow up and become emotional caretakers of something that's not ours to carry. But we've got a woodcutter in the story, and he's our saving grace. The first thing the woodcutter does is that he listens for the little. He knows little is important, to take little seriously. And that's what we all need to do, whether we're a woman at risk or someone that may know someone who's at risk. We all need to pay attention to the little and take it seriously. Every woman that I speak to that's been and lived through domestic violence, I ask, did you have warning signs? Every single woman says yes. We don't listen to the little, and we need to. We have to reclaim our connection to instinct and the unconscious, and we don't have to wait for it to become conscious for us to know it as truth. And we need to trust the little. So that's the first thing from the woodcutter. The second gift the woodcutter gives us is that when he hears the wolf snoring, he doesn't go, that's none of my business. That sounds odd, but I won't pay attention. He senses something doesn't seem right. I'm going to barge through the door. He's willing to take a risk, and that's what we all need to do. Whether we're trapped, we need to take a risk to find someone to support us or anyone else. The third thing that the woodcutter does is he cuts open the wolf to get Little Red Riding Hood out. And we all need to have the capacity to be with the uncomfortable, to get to what's good and important. They're the three fundamentals that I think, irrespective of domestic violence, we all need to learn those three things. They're going to all help us get through life. The other thing with the story of Little Red Riding Hood is that when she's knocking on the door, she doesn't want to go in the original story. But she, again, follows the rules and goes in instead of listening to herself. And we need to encourage our girls and our women that it's okay to disappoint another, even if you get it wrong. What's the worst thing that can happen if you make a mistake? You go back again. But far better to listen to yourself, like I wish I had on that first day of meeting the wolf in my life. The next thing, when she's at the bedside and she says, what big eyes you have, what big ears you have, she's making the mistake of trying to get a reality check from that which is dangerous to her, instead of finding somewhere that's safe. And so we make this mistake of trying to get this reality check outside us, when we need to listen to that little voice within that can tell us, because we're social creatures. We want to belong, we want to connect, we want people to validate, but we have to build that emotional muscle to trust what we know, what we feel, what we sense.